Hello, YouTube family. This is Coach Erica Janelle. I know it's surprising. I've gotten two messages in one day, but I wanted to share something with you guys. And this is actually a message for the first time. It's going to be a message that's for my guys, for my fellas. And it's about understanding how to relate and appreciate and value the woman in your life. Oftentimes we as women, we share messages to other women because we share based on our experiences, and we're there as a support system for each other as women. Women know women challenges and things that we as women face, but it's very unusual that you hear a woman speak to men about women. And I think there is um, a big misconception that women don't understand men, or we don't know how to talk to men because our brains are wired differently. We do fundamentally think differently. We're more thinking more on the emotional side, whereas men are thinking more logical. However, me as a female, I'm actually a pretty logical thinker. I don't usually let my emotions lead my decisions for the most part. um, and sorry, I'm in the car again. I'm just busy. It's been a very busy day. I have not even been home from work yet, so bear with me. But this message is for my guys. One of the things that I often hear a lot of my clients say, um, when it comes to dating and dealing with men, whether it's somebody that they're in a relationship with, or somebody they're interested in, or just wanting to be prepared to date, or anything like that, I find that we as women often have a disconnect in how we view things versus how men view things. And there's always that disconnect until you both learn how to communicate effectively with one another and be able to share with one another the things that you like, the things that you dislike, the challenges that you have, and such. So, one of the things that we as women often have an issue with when it comes to men is communication. And as a woman, I am definitely big on communication. I'm big on verbal as well as nonverbal communication, because your nonverbal can speak just as loudly as your verbal communication. And I say that because sometimes it's your inaction that a woman will take to mean to relate to a specific way that you're thinking or feeling about her. I'll give you an example. For instance, if a man is not communicating or calling you, or you've asked him a question and you're getting the silent treatment, or he's ignoring you, or you're not hearing back from him, for a woman that speaks volumes. You may not say anything, and in fact you could be sitting there trying to process it and figure out what to say or how to say it. But from a woman's perspective, generally we're going to look at it like, oh, okay, well, I guess he's just giving me the cold shoulder, ignoring me, and he doesn't care. So uh, that inaction actually makes us perceive your actions that you don't care, or your behaviors to mean that you don't care. Um, I'll give you another example. When a woman is like, "Well, honey, just tell me. I want you to tell me how you're feeling about me. How do you feel about me? Blah blah blah." A lot of times, women will. We expect for men to be able to verbalize their feelings and their emotions, whereas it's a lot more difficult for most men. I'm not going to say, well, most men that I've encountered, it's a lot more difficult for men to just openly express their feelings because they don't typically engage in feelings. They typically engage in dealing with things from a more um, logical perspective. So we're saying, oh, I just want you to tell me how you feel about me. I want you to tell me how you feel. I don't feel like you love me. I don't feel like you want me. And he may be saying, oh, well, I do love you. I show you that I love you by doing this for you, or taking you here, or buying you this, or doing that. And it's really often a communication barrier that causes us to have such friction between males and females. And so, as a woman talking to my brothers, I want you guys to understand that with us as women, in order for you to really truly be able to communicate effectively with a woman, it's a lot of the things that you are not necessarily comfortable doing that you're going to have to learn to train yourself to do. So if a woman feels as though she's not getting the attention and the affection from you that she needs, oftentimes it's going to be your affection and your attention is going to show her or express to her love, even beyond you saying, I love you. It's the attentiveness that you show her that shows her that you love her. It's not enough to say, I love you, and then that's it. And you think that we're good to know that you love us. It doesn't work that way. With us, we need to see your actions line up with your words. And so as a woman, I I struggle with this in my own relationship. I've struggled with this in my past relationships. Um, my ex, one that I was truly so deeply in love with, he would just kind of withdraw when he needed to deal with things and process his emotions. But in my mind, the way I perceived that was, oh, you're just ignoring me and you don't want anything to do with me. You don't love me. You don't care about me. But in his mind, that was like, I just need a minute to kind of process my thoughts and then I'll come back to you. So the common issue that we had was I was looking for him to communicate with me in this way, and he was looking to communicate with me in that way. And the ways of communication clashed. They never came together. And so it caused a lot of conflict in our relationship. And unfortunately, that became a big issue. You know, it took for us to break up for him to understand that, listen, I see why you feel like I'm shutting you out every time I get quiet. He's like, I have to learn that when I'm dealing with things or I'm processing things, even if it's not something to do with you and I, even if it's something just to do with something that I'm dealing with in my daily life, when I'm processing, I have to be able to confide in you as my partner versus just being quiet and just internalizing everything and trying to figure out everything in my mind. I need to include you as my partner. And it's so very important that he had to come to that conclusion for himself. I could sit here and tell him all day long how I hated that he didn't communicate effectively and how I felt like he was pushing me away. But it was until he saw that that was becoming an issue in our relationship that he realized that it was in turn making me feel like, okay, you're internalizing, but I wasn't looking at it like you're internalizing. I was looking at it like you don't want to communicate with me about issues and things that are going on with you, whether it's something involving us or something that you're just dealing with on a daily basis. So it's very important to examine kind of what you're doing, what your actions are, and to see if if by happenstance your actions could be the very thing that's causing the friction or the lack of communication in your relationships. It's an age-old thing. Communication, I don't care what scientists say and many studies say about, sex being the number one need or whatever. I feel like if you don't have effective communication in a relationship, your relationship is not going to work. Effective communication is understanding how that person processes emotions and thoughts and things that they need. What is their love language? How do they speak? What is it that's important to them to be able to understand where you're coming from? Whether it be, if I look at, you giving me affection as a way of showing me love, that you love me, then if that's my love language, if that's the way that I perceive your love for me, then it's going to take you sacrificing, even though that may be out of your comfort zone, and saying, okay, this is how she likes to be loved. This is how she perceives that I love her. So in order for me to show her I love her, I'm going to have to give her hugs. I'm going to have to give her kisses. I'm going to have to write her a poem or send her a random text message and just say, I'm thinking of you. I miss you. Those types of things. If, and the flip side of it is, in a situation where you as a man may not be one that's very good at being vocal, you got to figure out what her love language is. So it's going to require conversation. It's going to require some dialogue between you and your mate. If your love language is her allowing you to take care of things, you being able to give her acts of service, if that's how you show her love, then communicate that to her. Listen, I may not be the overly emotional guy that's going to give you hugs and kisses every 5 minutes. But I show you my love by showing you that I'm going to go ahead and take your car to get your oil changed. I show you love by by making sure I pick up the groceries, or I make sure I, pick up the kids from aftercare, so that you don't have that responsibility and that pressure. So it's really being able to effectively communicate with one another, and then, compromising in that way and speaking to your partner in their love language. It's so important. And I'm learning this as I'm going through challenges in my own relationship. And as I've examined relationships in my past, I'm learning from the mistakes that I've made, because I want to eventually be, I want to be in a positive, loving relationship with the person that God has for me. And in order for me to do that, it's going to take me examining my life, and take me looking back and realizing the areas where I can grow and where I can learn and develop and become better. And it goes for both males and females. If, I don't believe that most men don't want somebody special. I believe majority of men want somebody special in their lives. The problem is, we as women haven't given you guys, um, made you guys accountable in a lot of ways, or challenged you to do the things that are necessary to become the man that we need. We tolerate a lot of things because we just feel like that's what you got to do to keep a man. I'm not. I for one am no longer doing that. I'm not tolerating things that are not going to work well for me. I am wise enough to know that in order to have a successful relationship, it takes compromise, it takes communication, it takes us both coming together on the same page and on common ground, and coming together to have a positive dialogue and being able to intentionally have a good relationship. Good relationships don't just happen. I don't care if you've been together for 25 years. I know plenty of people that's been together for 20 years and are miserable, but they're just there for convenience sake, or for the kids, or because it's more economical for them. I don't want that kind of relationship. For me, as a woman who has already been married and divorced, this time when I get married, it's the last time. It's going to be for life. And it's going to be with somebody that I feel that I can have a successful type of communication with, one, and that we are both on the same page. We have the same goals, the same desires as far as where we want to, how we want to raise our kids, how we want to grow financially, what we want to do in business, and all of those things. Those are the things that are the fundamentals for me. It's not about the looks. It's not about the money. It's not about the job. It's not about all those things. It's the internal, intangible things for me. It's your character for me. It's the areas where I feel like you're growing and you're developing and you're changing as a man. Those are the things that I want. I want a man that is my partner, not somebody that I'm in competition with, and not somebody that I have to take care of like he's another dependent. I want a partner. And I say that because it's a real thing. So I encourage you, brothers, to take the time and sit down and talk with your partner. Find out what it is that makes them click. What is their love language? It's not enough to talk to them in your love language, but you have to talk to them in their love language. So if their love language is gifts, you need to be giving them gifts. And gifts don't always cost money. Sometimes a gift could be you just writing a handwritten poem and putting it on her mirror in the morning and just saying that to her while she's sleeping, or laying it beside her pillow and saying, this is what was on my heart and this is how I feel about you. If her love language is quality time, making intentional time to set in your day to have with her. Intentional time. We can intentionally set time to hang out with our homeboys. We can intentionally set time to do whatever it is that we want to do. So be intentional about your relationships. And I feel like once we do that, and once we have the mature adult conversations, we'll find that we as couples can be successful. Nobody's perfect. No couple's perfect, but you've got to be willing to communicate. I hope this message resonated with some of you guys. I don't know how many male followers I have, but I just encourage you guys. It's not as complicated as we make it, as society makes it seem. Men and women can have successful communication. We can have successful relationships. It just requires intentional effort and intentional work. I love you guys. Have a wonderful day, and I will be coming back to you soon. Have a good night.